sometimes it seems important to set up a film with. My work is, for lack of a better way to describe it, uh, full of enough different types of disparate directions and ideas to sort of warrant a kind of some thought on my part to kind of. I mean, everybody has to write about their work. It's an obligation. Sort of, you make something, you defend it, you describe to people. I mean, I don't think Buster Keaton had to describe sort of what he was doing. He could just show the film, and people would probably understand what he was trying to do. Maybe that makes for a better film, as one that's sort of. I mean, that's the Hollywood show us, don't tell us. Here I am telling you. But anyway, sometimes it helps to have a kind of a, talk a little bit about what I was trying to do and what my work is about, or something like that. So I was on the fence about doing this, but I have a little. So I basically have a few excerpts from my director's statement about Mother, Mortar, Father, Pestle. I'll just try to get through it quickly. Forgive me if it's a little stiff. It's a sort of sort of a stiff way of describing the film and my work. It was my intention with Mother, Mortar, Father, Pestle to rebuke a certain type of religious pressure that is bearing on American politics, which I view as a significant obstacle to humanity's transcendence from creatures perpetually at war to ones further benign. My little film hardly has the tools to scratch such a Goliath, but it would be my hope that it might scrawl the existence of an objection on a wall of lost documents. It goes on, but I'll just skip to a little section that talks about my film work interests in general. My film work is mostly consistent in its aesthetic, concerned with a beautiful decay and the Earth's ability to erode and reclaim, to honor and respect what I call an indifferent universe. Though I have little interest in the tribulations of individuals, I occasionally depict mostly incomplete human activities, vaguely exploring characters for which life is profoundly unsatisfying, and though this may neglect those who have truly suffered, it somehow seems a conduit suited to transmit an impression of my experience and to capture a shadow of what might be called the hand of God. I am satisfied in the absence of God. This is the hand of a ghost or a beggar. Then it goes on a little bit here. My fictional work does not attempt to tell a story, has no particular concern with emotive performance, and will not supply a string of moving singularities. Maybe that's a slight overstatement. I tend toward the confusing and tedious hours. The singularities that I do include are rather brief, cold, and dry. I leave it to the conventionalists to depict murder or disaster, preferring to work on the philosophical aspects of human action. That said, I essentially make black comedy. I'm aware that this is a luxury afforded to those who know little tragedy. Though poetry may be found in despair rather than elation, I prepare my camp among those whose reaction to life is a marvel of wonder and malaise, and for us it's natural to find life generally a colossal absurdity. That's probably a reasonable way of describing something that you might see, assuming that what you see is Mother, Mortar, Father, Pestle. Let me just briefly address the context here. We're sort of have put this film in a series that's kind of has an experimental bent, which is not a problem. It's just, I'll tell you what I think about that. It's interesting to see this film in an experimental context. I don't consider Mother, Mortar, Father, Pestle an experimental film. There was a UCLA, I think, screenwriting instructor named Erwin Blackner who wrote a book, I think kind of a spin-off of the Elements of Style series, Elements of Screenwriting, if I'm not mistaken. And he was not a big fan of the term experimental, and he set me on a road, I think, thinking about the term. He sort of said To refer to one's work in this way was for him apparently an admission of failure. An experimental work was essentially a release of incomplete, undeveloped ideas. In Hollywood, it seems like an experiment is called a test, not a film. I don't consider Mother, Mortar, Father, Pestle an experimental film, firstly because, though I generally reject a number of conventionally mandatory components like acts or character development or conclusions, the film was built with attention to detail in a very calculated and deconstructed way. And secondly, because though some filmmakers may be so prepared as to having considered the placement of every hair on an actor's head, it's a myth that any film production isn't rife with haphazard construction and accidents, happy or otherwise. One mustn't confuse experimenting with making something of which you may not know the depths of its qualities until you are done. You may not even know when you're done, I guess. I had a Rotterdam gatekeeper, keep saying to me, "Is this a work in progress? Is this a work in progress?" And I was like, "No, but it could have been. I mean, I could have kept working on it just to make him like it more or something." He was basically trying to tell me, your film is okay. It could be better if you just keep working on it. Maybe if you included all the things I like, more of the things I like, then it would be better. I had a person from France, some sort of gatekeeper person from France, say a similar thing, but she liked this certain types of sequences, mostly related to a guy that she knew. So she was basically like, "Look, if you just go back and make another film with more of that stuff that I like, I'd like it." And I'm like, no doubt, no doubt. Anyway, where was I? Talking about the expression, making something of which you may not know the depths of its qualities until you decide you are done, which I would propose is the state of the majority of film works worthy of viewing. I'm not nearly as fascinated with improvisation as some, but I find no reason to be so deluded as to think it possible to avoid a working method essentially involving trying things, though I want to call the process calculated discrepancy rather than experiment. Maybe that's just a semantic differentiation. For lack of a better expression, if the word art wishes to describe, if what the word art wishes to describe involves something of poetry, one must let the universe participate, collaborate on this record of having lived that is a film, like the sun and the atmosphere shares its accidental qualities with the film and the camera. So after all that, my standard way to set this film up is really what I should have said in the beginning, which is don't be concerned if you don't know what's going on or don't know what the film is about.